Please welcome Mr. Shaju K. Albert. Dr. Shaju K. Albert graduated from the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore in Metallurgy in 1984. He then joined the Department of Atomic Energy Training in Nuclear Engineering in BARC and subsequently joined the Indira Gandhi Centre for Atomic Research in 1985. Dr. Albert has worked extensively in welding and joining, serving as Director of Metallurgy and Materials Group and Material Science Group at IGCAR until his recent retirement. He is a fellow of the Indian Institute of Metals and has received fellowships from the government of Japan. Dr. Albert currently holds leadership position in welding standardization committees and advisory boards and serves as an associate editor of welding in the world. Mr. Saju Albert will talk about the need of standardization and certification of welding professionals in India. So let's welcome Mr. Saju.
Part of my life, the several years of serving in the industry, mainly in the R&D sector, but I have been associated with the Indian Institute of Welding and the Bureau of Indian Standard, other professional bodies of the related to welding. So now, since you mentioned about infrastructure development and the role of welding in this, the most important part is that to realize is India is in a threshold. The threshold means, see, there is a huge infrastructure development taking place across the country. And all of us know whether it is railway, ship, defense, anything, space, there are a lot of things are happening in the country. And similarly, there is also a change because when I started my career in welding, so we have a lot of equipments were coming mostly from abroad or technology supported by multinational companies. But now things are changing. Now in India itself, there are companies who are making very good welding machines. Like you already heard the presentation from my good friend Nimesh and also from Amrit Yoga, how that inverter machines are being made in the country, and it is being replaced systematically in the large fabrication companies by replacing the conventional imported welding equipments with these new machines. So there is a lot of development there, and similar is the part with respect to consumables. I think earlier consumables were manufactured in collaboration with the multinationals. Now most of the consumables are being made in India and with Indian companies, and even multinationals are setting up their shop for producing world-class welding consumables within the country. So there is availability is there. But what is where we have a problem is in the welding professionals. See, when it comes to welding professional, main difficulty we face in welding professional is that attracting good professionals into the field of welding. See, actually, welding professionals is like a medicine professional. It is not just welding engineer or a welder. It is a group of professionals. Maybe at the bottom end is a welding helper. Maybe at the top end is a welding engineer or an executive of a fabrication company or who takes care of this. But in the gamut of in between them, we have a welder, we have a welding inspector, we have welding supervisor, we have a welding quality control engineer, and we have a testing engineer, and then we have also on the side wise we have design engineer, and we have an NDT professional, and finally we have welding engineer coming to this. But unfortunately, our country in general, the welding profession, especially at the bottom end, welding profession has not been considered very attractive. Though a good welder probably earns more than a welding engineer, but somebody to take up a profession as a welder or a welding engineer, or welding, even as a welder also, or as well as a welding engineer, is no, it's not at all attractive in the entry level. That is, if you look at it in an ITI, a welder is a welder who tries to become a welder. He will be mostly he will not be interested in doing welding. He's just there because he did not get any other job, or his education level is so low he can only apply for welding. So this is another thing. And if you ask for a mechanical engineer whether he will like a profession in welding engineer, the entry level, he will say that no, I want to become a designer, I want to become a robotic engineer, I want to become a structural engineer, or want to modeling and such things. So this is, but when the situation changes, when they get into job, because they find, especially if they get an opportunity to go Middle East or in Singapore or some Europe, or they find that welding profession is not that bad because they get a lot of money for this, and they want to come to back to a welding profession, and they try to grow in that. So you will find many people who go Middle East, they come back and try to become welding inspectors, or the welders, they get additional qualification to become a better welders. And so like that, so many things. But at the entry level, people are not good. Another problem with the country is that we do not have any certifying, and because welding profession is actually, welding as a manufacturing process is considered as a special process in an ISO 9000 terms. A special process is the one in which the the success of the process cannot be truly trusted by at the end of the process. That means we can, suppose you make a pressure vessel, fabricate a pressure vessel or a pipe line. Its performance can be actually tested only when it is in service. We cannot test it before that. Which means, to compare with that, suppose you are making a plate in a steel mill. The plate quality can be tested by cutting a piece from that plate, and evaluate for whatever properties for which the plate should have. We can test. But a pressure vessel, you cannot cut a plate from a pressure vessel and test it, because that will destroy the pressure vessel. Or you cannot cut a pipe, and the pressure vessel involve welding fabrication, and so that this is the limitation of a special process. So the only way it can be assured is by ensuring quality in every stage of its fabrication. And this is an important challenge. That means we need a we there is a big responsibility on a welding fabrication, that they use the right material, they use the right professional, they use the right consumable, they maintain a right environment, and they have a proper workshop to do it. They have a lot of proper procedure to do it, and they have qualified, they have records for qualifying the procedure, they have records for qualifying the welder. All these requirement is required for getting a good welding product. And this is where India needs to develop further, because unfortunately, in India, we did not have a proper mandatory requirement of welding inspectors, mandatory requirement for qualified and certified welders. We have an ITA welders, but they need not to get a job. They need not be certified. They can, their education, their qualification can make them suitable for a job. Since and our system is like that, a welder, once he become a welder, if you look at the ITA welders, I understand good part of them, they don't pursue a career in welding, because they consider the welding profession is not good, because they don't want to work under weld under in a difficult environment, and they try to switch their job. And finally, their helpers who learn the welding by going with them, they become welders and do the job. And though their skill is good, but they are not equipped to understand the criticality of the job they do. Actually, I try to motivate the welders, telling them, as I had a comparison earlier with the medicine. See, in a medicine, who does a surgery? A doctor does a surgery. In a welding profession, there are welders, there are welding engineers, but the welding engineer do not do welding. It is a welder who does the welding. And the consequence of a poor surgery on a poor welding is same, because there is a failure, there is an accident, there could be a failure, there could be a mortality, same. So if you look at it, welder is a proud professional. This problem people don't realize because welder is a proud. So one need not think whether what he was before, but as a welder, he is a key figure in the welding profession because he only can do the welding properly. But this motivation somehow is missing among the people because we don't have a proper way mechanism of certifying the welder, qualifying the welder, and rewarding the welder. And actually, and many of us, but certainly since many people, many of Indian industries and Indian welding profession work for other countries, then there is a requirement. So they try to get certified and qualified as per their standard. Unfortunately, such a mandatory requirement has not come into Indian country, in our country. So in Bureau of Indian Standard is trying their best to compensate for this. So recently, Bureau of Indian Standard released the first certificate standard for certifying and qualifying a welding inspector. In the first speaker already mentioned about the need for welding inspectors. So we have a certified, there is a standard now, so certify welding inspectors as per an Indian standard. And that is as good as an international standard. And we have taken input from all the standard, international standard available for welding inspector, but CCIP, AWS standard, and we have covered and we have prepared the standard. Now there is a requirement, and we are working with the Quality Council of India to recognize this accreditation for the certifying agencies so that the welding inspector certified as per this standard by an accredited body within the country will be recognized and accepted as a welding inspector throughout the world because as per the ISO convention demand that. So such efforts are being made and there is a need. So all our efforts to make a welding machine better, welding consumable better, welding automation better will be successful or will meet the requirement only when welding professionals are properly qualified, certified, and recognized by the industry. Unfortunately, when you say recognition certification, they need a better salary also, remuneration also. So welding industry shy back from that. Unless there is a mandatory requirement, they are not coming forward to certify the welders or certified to have a welding certified welding inspectors in the payroll. So this need to be changed. So my request to the welding fraternity in general is that accept the need for a qualified and certified welding professional in the country. And there is another important aspect is the ethics afforded to the welding profession. People should realize it is not that getting a component fabricated as per the codes and standard and delivering to the service. It should perform satisfactorily throughout the life. And you should also realize a failure of a weld joint can cause a catastrophe. It may be in a water pipeline, it may be just a leakage of water. But in a gas pipeline, it can be a fire. In a petrochemical industry, it can be loss of material and fire and damage to the environment. And in a ship, it may be a shipwreck. In a space shuttle, it may be a failure of a space shuttle. So consequence of a weld failure can be very serious. So a welding ethical standard of welding fabricators also is important. So this is where a higher qualification, higher motivation to the welding professional is important. A welding professional can just say that I'm welding two plates, which is given by my supervisor, I'm welding it. Or he can also tell, I am welding a component for India's Chandrayaan. So that makes a lot of difference. Or I am welding for a bridge in which Vande Bharat train will pass through, or a bullet train will pass through tomorrow. So this difference, and then that makes a lot of difference for him to when he does this job. This ethical responsibility for a welding professional in every stage to do the welding good, to inspect the welding good, to design the weld joint properly, to have a consumable certified properly, to store the consumable property are important. So welding in the upcoming boom of infrastructural boom of the country, welding professional will have a job to do his job in a professionally, ethically, and with a pride. That is what's how I wish to stop it here, and I hope this discussion will motivate people who are in the welding industry to come forward to certify their welding professional in a professional way, train their welding professional in a professional way, so that quality of welding fabrication in the country will improve, and accordingly safety of the welded products during their service and will improve, and we'll have a world class welded construction within the country, and not only in India but also outside. Indian fabricators will be able to contribute this.
Thank you, Dr. Elber, for shedding light on the need of the standardization and certification of welding professional in India.